Hello, my name is Lenny Vermoss, and my contact information and a website with some other 3-acts is on the screen. This particular 3-acts is my first one I've created and is called Grain Storage. Just a little background about 3-acts. 3-acts comes from Dan Meyer, and his Twitter and blog information is there, and I have lots of his other 3-acts for mathematics on my websites, ones he's created. The first act, Act 1, you pose some questions that come from a video or a picture. In this case, I'm going to use a picture, but as you look at the picture, I want you to think what question comes to mind, and then I want you to give a high and low estimate or solution for that answer, and then think about what other information is needed. First, a little background on this. This is a grain pile of corn that was in North Platte, Nebraska. Chuck Friesen, a colleague of mine, we're doing a presentation there. And in the fall, this is a pretty common sight as there's way more corn than can be easily put on trains and moved to where it's going to be used. So they pile the grain in piles like this. And this is one particular pile of grain. Okay, so what is the question? So what I would like you to do is to stop the video and think about what question comes to mind, develop a question, and then write a high and low estimate for the solution, and then think about what other information is needed for this particular problem. Act 2 provides you some additional information. So what information is useful, what information is not needed, and where can more information be found. So in this case, I'm going to give you a little bit of perspective. This is a picture of Chuck and myself by the grain bin. I would let you know that I am about 6 foot tall. You see Chuck's a little shorter than myself. All right. The other information that is useful, we didn't have a trundle wheel, so Chuck volunteered to walk around the grain pile, and it took him 268 steps to get around the grain bin. Now, what I'd like you to do is to stop this video, and then what information was useful and what more information is needed. This is all the information I'm going to give you, but I think you're going to have to make some assumptions and estimates and maybe also do some other information. But what I would like you to do is to see how many bushels of grain are in that pile and come up with a calculation for that and an answer. Act 3 is the answer. In this case, it was kind of interesting. We took a couple pictures and we were driving down the road to Kearney to our next presentation. And we actually called the grain elevator to see if they knew how much grain was in their pile, and they were a little surprised. We told them we were math teachers, and so maybe that helped them to understand the question that we had. But when we called the elevator, they knew the exact amount, which isn't real surprising because they do keep track of that and pay for that. But there was 578,595 bushels in the pile. Okay? So what I would like you to do now is to stop your video and think about your answer. Was it close enough? But then also you made some assumptions. Maybe go back and change your assumptions and see if you can come closer to the exact answer. The last part of 3-acts is a sequel. So I have a couple questions that I would pose. What if the grain was in a pyramid without the sides? Many times they don't have the container or the sidewalls for it, so they just pile it just so it runs down. So what would be the volume of that? 1 million is always kind of an interesting number. What if you had 1 million bushels? How big would that be? Something that I pose that might be interesting to kind of calculate for someone is how much seed corn was used to plant in the fields, a quantity of it, to produce this much of a pile of grain. So I hope you've enjoyed the problem, and look for more 3-acts on my website or from Dan Meyer. Thank you very much.